All right, so we are gathered here today with our special speaker, Cooper from QuitCarbon. And before we get started, I have one quick prayer. It's a prayer for our earth from Laudato Si. All-powerful God, teach us to discover the worth of each thing, to be filled with awe and contemplation, to recognize that we are profoundly united with every creature as we journey towards your infinite light. Amen. Amen. All right, and so I'll let Cooper do his own introduction in a moment, but maybe it would help if we all went around the room and just said our first names and the town that we're residing from. You know, I told Cooper most of us are from San Francisco, and I know we have one special guest, Jennifer. So why don't we start with you, Jennifer, who's not in San Francisco?
My name is Jennifer, obviously, and I'm from Seattle.
And Sister Teresa?
My name is Teresa, and I'm from San Francisco.
Miss Janet?
Janet, also live in San Francisco and Bernal Heights.
Pam?
We're Pam and Tony, and we're from San Francisco.
Nancy?
Sea and Pacifica.
And Joe and Joan?
Well, we're Joe and Joan, and we're from Twin Peaks in San Francisco.
And Mary?
I'm Mary, and I'm a neighbor of John and Joan, and are in Twin Peaks, San Francisco.
Over to you, Cooper. Thank you so much for joining the Laudato Si Circle of St. Ignatius Parish.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. We really appreciate it. I'm madly clicking away on my screen here to get the slides ready, but I think I'm just about ready here. And I'm a neighbor too. I live on the west side of Noe Valley up towards Twin Peaks by Phil's Coffee and Rin's Thai, so I could probably wave out the window to a few of you. I'm a San Francisco native, born and raised here, and now raising my two boys here and trying to give back to my community and my planet with what we're doing here at QuitCarbon. And so let me get this up on screen, and I'm gonna share with you a bit about what we're up to. And let's see. Okay, gotta drag the little windows around and gotta make this one full screen. Okay, can everybody see that and hear me okay? Just give me a thumbs up, somebody. Yes, excellent, great. Well, thank you for having me. As I mentioned, I'm Cooper. I'm here from QuitCarbon. We are a San Francisco-based organization, and we exist to accelerate the transition of homes, our communities' homes, and homes all around the US away from fossil fuels. And today I'll be teaching a little bit about climate change and how our homes are both part of the climate crisis and also part of the solution to our crisis. I'll present probably for around 15 minutes, plenty of time for Q&A at the end. And also I'll try to keep a third eye here on the chat in case you want to hop in with chat questions, which I might answer live or might defer, but go for it. So the climate crisis is very clearly here, right? Who can forget this day in September 2020 when the sun did not come up due to wildfires that were made worse by climate change? And the climate crisis is everywhere. We see record heat around the world, and the science is clear that these dangerous events are made more intense and more frequent by humanity's combustion, our combustion of fossil fuels. And back here in California, the historic storms in recent months have been made that much worse by human-caused climate change as well. Almost every day, we hear that the problem is more urgent than ever. I captured these two headlines on the same day in October, and we see that on the one hand, our progress to address climate change is falling behind, while on the other hand, the fossil fuel industry, the very industry that helped get us into this dire situation, is fighting tooth and nail to preserve its profits at the expense of a livable planet. This is a heck of a challenge and a heck of a moment, and that's a lot of scary news. And it's clear, but I'd like to say it's clear about what we have to do. We have to stop putting carbon dioxide and unburned methane and related pollutants into the atmosphere as soon as possible. We have to stop using fossil fuels entirely and quickly. Now, these goals, these 50% and 100% reduction goals, these are from the US agreement of the Paris Climate Accords. And these reductions are based on 2005 emission levels. And we have to get to 100% reduction in greenhouse gases by 2050. That's net, also known as net zero. And to ensure we're moving quickly enough, we need to get to a 50% reduction by 2030, which is just 7 years away. And the days may be long, but the years are short, and they do fly by. And to achieve that 50% reduction in 7 years, if we're just considering the starting point as today, every single one of us needs to reduce our carbon and methane pollution by about 10% a year at a bare minimum. And ideally, we all achieve better than these goals, because unfortunately, there's many folks that won't meet these goals. And if we have the ability, the intent to do better, then we can help sort of average out our achievement as a community. Now, these reductions are for all of us to make. These aren't just goals for counties and government. Of course, we need leadership from and support from government at all levels. And we recently saw some terrific leadership from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, moving to ban the sale of some fossil fuel appliances later this decade. But these goals are really for each and every one of us, because the solution to the climate crisis, it runs right through our lives and right through the personal decisions that we each make. Now, let's look at some of the sources here of these climate impacting greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide and methane in particular. Now, we may think of cows burping and combustion from car engines. And while those are absolutely meaningful sources of greenhouse gases, you'll see here in this blue area of the chart, the teal area, that there's a lot of greenhouse gases that come from building operations. And almost all of that comes from burning fossil fuel in our appliances, in our buildings, in our homes and commercial buildings. Burning fossil fuel is the vast majority of climate pollution from our buildings and our homes. Now, I used to think that a lot of climate change pollution came from generating electricity. But thanks to years of strong effort and results by our state regulators and local regulators and the SF Public Utilities Commission and our neighbors installing solar power at home, and maybe some of you, we're blessed now with a remarkably clean electricity supply. You can see just 3% of our greenhouse gases, at least for San Francisco, comes from electricity production. This chart looks substantially similar for all the cities around the San Francisco Bay Area. There aren't meaningful differences for the most part. So let's dive into that big blue slice of the pie and see what's going on with our homes and how we can address greenhouse gas emissions from our homes. And really, we're focusing on our gas burning furnaces and water heaters. You can see that these take up nearly 90% of our total carbon and methane pollution from our homes. And these appliances are leaking methane into the atmosphere, whether or not you're using them. Methane's an extremely potent greenhouse gas. It's relatively short-lived compared to carbon dioxide, but because it's so potent, it's estimated that currently about a third of all of our global warming or global climate change impact currently is coming from methane, not from carbon dioxide. Now, recall our 10% per year minimum reduction goal from a few slides ago. And you can see from this slide that you could roughly get to 10% this year by doing your stove and your dryer, or you could take a bigger chunk out of the equation by electrifying and basically eliminating the carbon impact and the methane impact of your water heater or your furnace. And ideally, you're making faster progress than just waiting for these things to wear out, because we need to help those who are going to make slower progress. And also because by electrifying your home, you start to develop the market to make clean, safe, efficient, and economical electrified homes more available to everyone in your community. You sort of contribute to the pace of progress by making your own progress. Now let's zoom in a little further. In addition to the contributions to global climate change, burning natural gas also causes significant air pollution, local air pollution. Specifically, it creates NOx, nitrogen oxides, and these cause smog and like breathing problems, headaches, reduced lung function, eye irritation, loss of appetite, corroded teeth. This is nasty stuff. And here's a couple of statistics just to illustrate how big of a problem burning gas in our homes has become. So first of all, home appliances or building appliances, natural gas powered appliances in buildings in the Bay Area produce more NOx emissions than all of the passenger cars combined. Our cars have gotten a lot cleaner, much faster than our homes have. And second, in California, appliances emit more than 4 times the dangerous NOx pollution than power plants. We saw on a previous slide how clean our electricity supply has become. Well, our homes have not been keeping up. We've done this amazing job of cleaning up our transportation and our power generation, and now it's time to clean house. So let's talk about even the climate in your kitchen. We went from Earth's atmosphere to regional air quality and air pollution, and now we're going down into our kitchens. And burning gas in our kitchens is a major public health problem. Gas stoves pollute the indoor air inside your home to a level that would be illegal if it was outdoors. In our kitchens every day could be a spare the air day. And children who grow up in homes with gas stoves have 40% higher asthma rates than those who don't. Some recent research showed that over 20% of childhood asthma cases in California can be attributed directly to gas stoves in the home. Natural gas is not clean and it's not safe. It's dangerous for our planet, our communities, and our families. So if our homes are part of the climate problem, well, let's talk about how they can be part of the climate solution. Switching from fossil gas powered appliances, which emit greenhouse gases no matter how you use them, no matter how efficient they are, to electric appliances that run on our already clean and getting cleaner electricity supply is directly on the path to net zero for our homes. And the good news is that these electric appliances, and today we're mostly talking about the 4 on the left, the heat pump water heater, the electric clothes dryer, the heat pump for space heating and cooling, and electric cooking or induction stoves. These electric appliances, they're cleaner, they're safer, they're healthier, they're typically more economical, they're just plain better than those that burn fossil fuels. And this technology, this exists, it's well proven. We are not talking about bleeding edge tech here. We're talking about stuff that's already well deployed in America and overseas. In the US, about a quarter homes are already fully electrified. But here in the San Francisco Bay Area, supposedly a global capital of innovation, we are far behind the times when it comes to implementing and benefiting from clean and safe electric homes. I just heard the other day that in Norway, a substantial majority of homes are heated with heat pumps. Norway is not warm, and they've made much more progress than we have on electrifying their home appliances. All right, hopefully you're convinced that electrifying your home, upgrading to clean and safe electric appliances is something you want to do, but you're still wondering, all right, how do I do it, Cooper? All right, well, here we go, 4 easy steps to electrify your home. So first of all, it's really important to plan. Most folks are going to electrify their homes in several projects over the course of months or even years. And making good decisions in each of those projects will absolutely save you time and money as you go. Having a roadmap to follow from the beginning is crucial here. Now, once you've got a plan, a roadmap, then when you're ready to begin, take action. Begin upgrading your electrical appliances and start replacing them. Upgrading your gas appliances and replace them with electric appliances. And this includes getting ahead of emergency replacements. You know, especially for water heaters, people often wait until it fails, right? In the middle of the night and there's a puddle on the floor, and it's usually on a holiday when you have guests coming over the next day. That is not the best time for making good decisions. It's really never too early to electrify a dirty gas appliance. Okay, you've done one, fantastic. Repeat, go on to the next one. You can check that off on your plan and then think about what's your next machine you're going to do. Maybe you start with your water heater and then you do your stove, or you start with your dryer and then you do your furnace, converting it to an electric heat pump. And you keep repeating that until all the gas machines are gone and you call PG&E and say, take away that horrible gas meter. I'm done. I've quit carbon. I'm fully electric. I've become part of the future and moved on from this dangerous past. Because remember, our goal is getting to zero everywhere. If you still have a gas meter, if you're still using gas in your home, you're not yet at zero. And most importantly, none of this matters if it's just us. If all of us on the call go electrify tomorrow, that's great. But our world, our community, our neighbors, they need more. They need us to help each other. When we electrify, we're of course going to feel good about it. And you know, when you feel good about your decisions, it's fun to talk about them. Be proud, share the news, talk about it with your friends and your neighbors and your community. And in groups like this, we can really inspire and help those around us to make this transition. And it really does need to be a community-wide effort. We're here at QuitCarbon especially interested in ways we can facilitate collaboration in our buildings and our blocks and our neighborhoods to tackle this part of the climate problem. And you inviting me here today is really the start of that sort of collaboration and group effort. Now, folks often ask, is this going to cost me, right? Sounds good. Let's electrify, but how much is it going to cost? Okay, not really. And here's why. So first of all, appliances need periodic replacement. For the most part in this presentation, we're talking about homes that are owned, owner-occupied homes, but we'll talk a little bit about renters too. But regardless, appliances don't last forever. They need periodic replacement, and that costs money. So when we're talking about the cost, we're not talking about the total cost, we're talking about the comparative cost. Well, what if I get electricity instead of gas? Gas water heaters, for example, last 8 to 14 years, maybe stoves and furnaces a bit longer. But let's remember that using a gas appliance for its full life, waiting until it's completely worn out, this is much more harmful for the climate. And ideally, you're choosing to replace your gas appliances well before their natural end of life. Now, rebates and tax incentives. You've probably seen the press about the Inflation Reduction Act, which offers tax credits and rebates for the next 10 years. There's also generous incentives at the state, utility, and local level. And when you add all of these up, which can be complicated, but they're pretty generous, some electrification options, especially heat pump water heaters and sometimes stoves, they can be less expensive up front than the gas equivalent. Let's just let that sink in for a second. A lot of folks think, oh, electric, that sounds expensive. No, actually, for some of these machines, it is cheaper from day one because of all of these rebates and incentives. The government, our regulators, and those around us are really actively supporting this switch. But ultimately, it's up to each one of us to take advantage of those. Now, how about the utility bill savings? You know, when you buy one of these machines, you have to keep operating it, just like you keep paying a bill each month, sending your money to PG&E, and effectively they send it on to, you know, Putin and Qatar and other places that make natural gas. Let's think about your operating costs here. Electrified homes today, they cost around the same as gas-fueled homes. So in the near term, your utility bills probably won't change much. But gas rates have been going up far faster than electricity rates. You probably saw this. The gas rates spiked recently on our utility bills. And they're projected by the CPUC for gas rates to continue going up much faster than electricity rates. So while today a gas and electric home cost around the same to operate, in the future that difference is going to get wider and wider, and you will save more and more money with an electrified home. Plus, if you have solar or you're going to get solar, you can save even more. Now, maybe you don't want to pay for it all up front. No problem. There are green financing programs available that let you break up the upfront cost of the machine into loan payments. And when you combine these all together and consider what you would have spent on replacing a gas appliance and then fueling it with gas, again, it can be cheaper to have an electrified home. Now, some of what we're talking about is really cheap. And also, these two are really good for renters. So there's a great super green, 100% renewable electricity plan available from SF Clean Power. If you live outside of San Francisco, you can check with your local utility or contact us at QuitCarbon. We'll try to help you find that. It's very cheap and it helps develop the market for clean electricity. So I encourage you to switch right away if you haven't done so. And you can try out an induction cooktop. There's a terrific one for sale at IKEA. I actually just bought one last night. They're really great. They cost less than $100. They work better than gas stoves, and they let you start using less gas inside your home where it's really impactful to your health. Great way to try out induction cooking. And then when you do get an induction stove to replace your gas stove, well, pass it on, give it to a friend or neighbor and say, now it's your turn to learn how awesome induction cooking is. And finally, let's just remember that we get better homes, better appliances. They're healthier, they're more comfortable, they're safer. When electrifying, we're adding long-term value to our homes, and we're contributing to the safety and the future and prosperity of our communities. And I think that's just priceless. So I think you're ready to quit. I'm going to guess that you are. How do you go about it? Well, you could get a free quitting plan and ongoing advice from us, from here at QuitCarbon. This is what we do. We make plans for folks and we help them along their electrification journey. Also, we get you connected with great contractors and we'll look over their bids and let you know if the bid you've received is a good one or not. Even if you already have bids, even if you're already working with contractors, feel free to reach out. We'd love to give you a second opinion on what they're proposing to electrify your home. Or you could work with a different organization. There's a number of them locally, bayren.org and switcheson.org. They can be helpful. Oh, you know what? I'm going to post a link to this presentation in our chat here in just a moment. So you'll be able to click on all of these links. You don't have to write them down. And coming soon, I'm really excited about this. There's SF in San Francisco, the Climate Equity Hub, a city-funded program that will help folks in San Francisco navigate the electrification of their homes and small businesses. Similar programs are starting to exist in other cities and other regions, and we can help you find those if you're outside of San Francisco. If you've already started to quit, if you've already started making the switch, or if you're excited about this and just want to cause there to be more inertia here, going away from fossil fuel and towards our clean and safe electrified future, talk, right? Speak with your friends, speak with your congregation, your community, share the word. A lot of folks have heard about, cow burps and airplane engines. Far fewer people have heard about the benefits of electric homes. Sharing that joy, that knowledge of going electric really makes a big difference in helping other folks proceed. And finally, we'd love to meet more community groups, clubs, associations. I'm here today because I gave a presentation before that Mary Rose attended and said, oh, great, you should come to this other group I'm part of. Terrific, it works, right? We want to do more of these. So let us know if we can speak to a group, a neighborhood group, or anything that you're part of. That's what I've got today. I'd be happy to take some questions. You could also email us anytime, helpmequit@quitcarbon.com, or come to our website, quitcarbon.com, and we'd be happy to get you going with a free expert plan to electrify your home. And give me a second here. I'm going to post the link to the presentation. Okay, there we go. Great. Here it comes. And I'm happy to take questions.
Wow, thank you. And there's the link. Thank you so much, Cooper.
My pleasure.
May
Let's just
I
bring
ask
up any questions for me. Of course, go ahead.
where's the profit incentive for QuitCarbon?
Sure, yes.
What's the business model? How do you benefit by our contacting QuitCarbon, and how do you help replenish the planet?
Certainly. How do we help replenish the planet is by accelerating residential electrification. We've spoken with many, many homeowners and contractors who are interested in electrifying, but find it fiendishly complicated and difficult. And we try to make it simpler and easier so that more of it happens. Currently, we get paid in a few different ways. We apply for government grants. We have a contract with a local town here in Bay Area where we're helping some of their residents electrify, and the town is getting some of the data we collect about homes so that they can better plan the electrification of their whole town. Our main source of revenue right now is from contractors. If we connect you with a contractor and you end up doing business with them, they pay us a small finder's fee. So that's our current primary revenue model. But you don't have any obligation to work with our contractors or do anything in particular with our plan. We will make you a plan for free so that you can see what it will cost and what sort of benefits you can expect from electrifying your home. And if you want to take that and go work with somebody else, go for it. We just want more electrification to happen.
Awesome. And I see Joe and Joan raise their hand.
Great.
Yeah, we recently had we have a gas range and other gas appliances in the house, and we recently had a repairman have to come in for the oven igniter, and we talked to him about the possibility of changing to electric, and he indicated it would probably be tens of thousands of dollars in our house to get the 240 volt service in, because our house was built in the 1950s and it's only got the 120 volts. So could you address that a little bit?
Certainly. Yeah, unfortunately, there is a lot of misinformation out there in the market, especially from many contractors and suppliers that know how to navigate the fossil fuel past, right? And you can't blame them, right? These are small local businesses that have worked out a way of bringing equipment to their customers, maintaining it and selling it and servicing it. That all is around fossil fuel power. And for them to learn new equipment, new approaches is challenging. It's part of why we exist and why other programs funded by the government, by utilities and others exist to train and educate contractors. But the information is disseminating slowly. We've planned over 200 home electrification projects in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we've never seen an expense higher than around $2,000 or $3,000 to get a home ready to electrify in terms of the electrical work. In this case, almost certainly your contractor's quote was just way off, probably by an order of magnitude. We'd be happy to help you find a better quote that's more realistic. But also you can start for even less. You can get one of these countertop induction cooktops for less than $100. You plug it into a regular outlet and you can use your gas stove a lot less. We actually put our induction cooktop on top of our gas stove. We don't use the gas stove, we just use the electric one, and that costs $65. So we don't have to start off by spending a lot of money. Planning the whole home electrification up front, even if it takes you years to do it, is also a really important part of containing the costs. If you do a project at a time with a contractor at a time and there's no overall plan, it's very easy to spend a lot more money than you need to, because no individual party is responsible for optimizing the whole home and keeping the costs as low as possible. That's the role we play. And in fact, that's why we came into existence, because we talked with lots of homeowners who had been able to make a little bit of progress electrifying, or who had spoken with contractors and had experiences like yours of being told it would cost tens of thousands. And we realized there was just a big gap. There's a knowledge gap, there's a preparation gap, analysis gap, and it really can be filled by the plan. The plan is the thing, making a plan. Now I'll share some resources here online in case you'd like to try to make your own plan, which is certainly possible. You don't have to use us. But having a plan that helps you optimize the projects and their sequence, the rebates, the sizes of the projects, their costs is really important. And this organization, Rewiring America, they're a terrific nonprofit that also helps. They don't provide the same one-on-one consulting we do, but they provide web education that helps you understand a bit more about how to electrify your home. And I note on their homepage, it's fantastic. Stacey Abrams has just joined Rewiring America, a huge vote of confidence in them and their work. They were already an amazing organization, now even more so, and we're deeply inspired by them.
Yeah. Indeed. Anybody else?
I was wondering whether you reach out to property management companies, because being a renter, we don't have any control over the water heater or anything like that. But the property management company, like we have, probably has tons of properties all over San Francisco. And as their water heaters and whatnot go out, if they could be educated to change them out to electric heaters instead of just swapping them out wholesale, would raise their awareness and maybe could get the apartment upgraded at least little by little.
That's right. It's a great idea, Tony. We work in a very limited fashion with multifamily buildings, usually with those that are owner occupied, so condo buildings or TIC buildings, and smaller ones. When buildings get very big, they start to change a lot. They're really different from homes. They need different systems, different approaches, and we're just not quite there yet. Luckily, BayREN, Bay Area Regional Efficiency Network, funded by local governments, they have a program specifically to support multifamily property owners with electrifying. And so if your landlord called us, what we would tell them probably is, you know what, your project type is not quite what we can help with now. We mostly focus on owner-occupied single unit buildings or small multi-unit buildings, but how about you talk to BayREN? They offer free advice, free engineering, free services, plus lots of rebates that are specific to multifamily and renter-occupied homes. You also may just want to reach out to your landlord. I know if it's a big property management company, it's hard to do, but occasionally we do hear from landlords of smaller buildings that are motivated by more than just the economics. This is the other reason why we don't focus on rental buildings yet. A lot of rental property owners are pretty mercenary, right? They're in it for the dollars and cents. Sometimes not because they want to be, but because they have to be. They are beholden to investors or others. And electrifying multifamily buildings, it can be difficult to make the economic argument to do so today, precisely today. In a year or 2 or 3, it will become more clear that it's economically rational. When we work with folks that own their homes, they're typically motivated by more than just the dollars and cents, right? Like all of you, they care about the climate, they care about their community, they care about the health, their own health and the health of their neighbors. They care about the economic vitality that gets created when we put money into our communities by basically upgrading our homes. Property owners don't always care about all that stuff. And so it's harder for us to make the case for them to electrify their homes today. But BayREN does a great job. I encourage you to refer your owner to them, and I put the link there in the chat. I see Nancy's got her hand up.
Yeah, I would also put in a plug for BayREN. I've taken step 1, which is to install a heat pump water heater, and followed their guidelines. And they had a list of contractors. You know, I got quotes from them, and I had to do an electrical upgrade, which cost almost as much as the heat pump water heater, but the process was fairly smooth, and the contractor really facilitated the submission of the paperwork for the rebates. So I found that process fairly smooth. I think the challenge that Tony brought up, though, multifamily, I mean, I'm part of a number of groups, both in Pacifica. We have a local climate committee, and then also through Sierra Club. And while I think we're making a lot of headway on homeowners, I think we need to go equally hard on rent on multifamily units. And I wonder if part of this is a scalability thing, that the more, you know, we can get, the more it'll take off. And also that with the recent decision by BACMed, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, to essentially and it doesn't affect the ranges, but the water heater and furnace that essentially in a certain number of years, you won't be able to buy the gas.
That's right.
replacement. So
Yes,
I think that's a very positive thing.
very
Now,
positive.
there's some caveats around that, and that, yeah, I think they have to, and Cooper, you probably know more about this, but I did listen to part of the hearing. They have to review it, and it could be postponed, the date, but the
Yes.
fact that it was an overwhelming vote in favor, I think is very positive.
Absolutely. Yeah. Part of helping multifamily buildings electrify is electrifying your own building, your own home. There really is a sort of market development aspect to this, where as more people buy this stuff and more contractors get more experience putting it in, it gets easier and cheaper and better and faster for everybody else. And it's a real vote with your dollars sort of thing, where you can do good by your own home and also be doing good for your community and the future thereof by electrifying before you're required to do so. And indeed, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District is moving in the direction of effectively requiring it. The way this is going to work is that if this rule passes, in something like 8 to 12 years, you will not be able to buy a new gas furnace or water heater in the Bay Area. Now, you could keep using the one you have. Go for it. Like, no one's coming for your water heater, and definitely no one's coming for your stove. But eventually these machines wear out. Like all machines, they eventually need replacement. And if you need to replace your water heater or furnace after 8 to 12 years from now, it will be with an electric one, because that is what the local rules require. As a society, we've done this many times. We long ago used to burn coal, and we used to have leaded gasoline, and we used to sell leaded paint, and we used to spray DDT and all sorts of things. We have many times decided that the harms of a given technology or approach are not worth it. And this is, again, one of those times. We've got a while to prepare, though. 8 to 12 years. I kind of wish they'd done it a little sooner, but at least it seems to be happening. And you can do it sooner if you choose to. Any other questions right now?
Pam?
Hi, Pam.
Hi, Cooper, can gas stoves or otherwise affect God's children's brains?
Very much so. There's emerging research that cognitive decline can be accelerated by the pollution that's released by gas stoves, more so in older adults. Now, this research is preliminary, and we don't have it in our slide deck because we haven't seen it sort of been duplicated, but there is early research that suggests that the benzene and the nitrogen oxides and other combustion byproducts that come out of gas stoves can accelerate cognitive decline in older adults. I don't want to scare you, right? It's early research. You can make a big step forward by just making sure you always turn on your vent above your stove, at least if it vents to the outside. If it's one of those vents that just circles around inside your kitchen, it's useless. Open a window, please. Turn on your vent to high and open a window every time you cook. You won't solve the problem, but you definitely reduce the impact of the pollution in your home. And get one of those induction cooktops, $65. Go get one on IKEA, order one from Amazon. They're all pretty similar and they all work great. Oh, and one quick tip there. If you want to see if your pots and pans will work with an induction cooktop, just grab a magnet, any old fridge magnet. If it sticks to the bottom of your pot or pan, then that pot or pan is induction compatible. And you'd be surprised, most are. The rare exception are those sort of aluminum nonstick fry pans. Those often don't work, but hey, now you get a chance to get a cast iron fry pan and try that out too. Mary, go ahead.
I have a question. You mentioned this super green electricity plan. Is that with PG&E?
No, it's with SF Clean Power. Mary, where do you live?
I live in the city in San Francisco.
Oh yeah, great, yeah. Let me. You can see a link there to our presentation, and you can find the link. But I'm going to get you the SF Clean Power link directly. And this is a program from the city of San Francisco, the SFPUC, and many cities and communities have similar programs. And you can opt in to paying a little bit more for your power, and in return, it is 100% renewable. It has less carbon being produced to produce your electricity. I just put the link in there. Sorry, I interrupted you there, Mary.
No, we're good. We're good. Thank you.
Oh, great, sure. I will call out though that, even if you don't do this, your electricity is already pretty clean. And if you do make this switch, which only costs a couple bucks a month, that's great. Good job. You took a step. It's important to start this journey with a first step, but it is a pretty small step. In terms of reducing your carbon and methane impact on the climate, it's really tiny. It's a great step. You should applaud yourself and tell your friends, and then make sure you take another step. Because this journey will take a few steps, and that's a great place to start. It especially makes a difference, of course, as you keep switching your appliances. Not only do you switch them off of gas, but you switch them onto an electricity plan that's 100% renewable. And that just feels terrific.
I was wondering, Cooper, we have a gas space heater, and I always turn the pilot light off during the warmer months. You
Great.
still have to pay PG&E, I guess, for the infrastructure. But I was wondering if we just turned it off all the time, even colder months, and get a plug-in space heater, electric space heater, whether that would mitigate some of this methane problem.
Absolutely. It would greatly reduce the carbon and methane pollution from your home, but there's a catch, unfortunately. Regular plug-in space heaters are, at best, about 100% efficient. They take 1 unit of electricity and they make approximately 1 unit of heat. Heat pumps, which are the modern way to heat and cool homes, they're kind of magical. They take 1 unit of electricity and they make 3 or 4 units of heat. They don't convert electricity into heat. They use electricity to move heat. And what they do basically is they gather up heat from outside your home. There's always warmth out there, it's always above absolute zero outside your home. So technically there is always warmth or energy in the air. They gather up that heat and they move it inside of your home. And because they're moving heat rather than making it, they are vastly more efficient. So if you get an electric space heater, the regular kind, unfortunately, your electricity bill will probably go up a lot if you're going to keep your home at around the same temperature that you did with your gas heater. If you get a heat pump instead, your electricity bill is likely to be about the same right now and then go down in the future because they are so much more efficient. Now, for you, Pam and Tony, as renters, there is not currently on the market a good option for you to get a heat pump. Either your landlord has to do it for you, or you're going to need to wait. There are terrific machines coming out soon that will go right in a window. They're kind of like those old style window air conditioners, but they're way better. They're smaller, they're quieter, and most importantly, they heat. They're incredibly efficient, but you can't buy them today, unfortunately. They will be a great option for renters when they come out next year or the year after. Until then, if you're feeling generous and you can afford much higher utility bills, great. Heat your home with electric space heaters. It's inefficient and expensive, but it is a big step forward for the climate. Otherwise, it's better to, if you're able to and you own your home, it's better to plan on replacing your furnace or your gas wall heaters with heat pumps. They're much more efficient. They heat and cool. So on those rare days when you need air conditioning, you'll have it. It comes for free automatically. And they'll cause your utility bills to be the same and then go down in the future. I wish I had a better answer for you today, Tony, but this world of electrification for renters is still a little tricky. Luckily, it's moving quickly, and next year we'll have a better answer for you when these new machines come out.
I guess in the meantime, you just turn your thermostat down and get a good sweater.
You could. I do want to, you bring up an interesting point though, and this is one that Rewiring America and many of us in the home electrification movement really want to make sure we get out there. In the 1970s, Jimmy Carter said, put on a cardigan, right? We're in an oil crisis. We're in a crisis. You need to wear a sweater. You need to sacrifice, right? You need to turn down your thermostat and wear a sweater, and we all need to suffer. In the electrified world of the future, nobody needs to suffer. You want your house warm? Turn up the thermostat. You want it cold when it's hot outside? Turn down the thermostat. Leave all the lights on, whatever. electric homes are so efficient and so safe for the planet that we don't need to sacrifice a damn thing. We can have comfortable homes that perform great without putting on the proverbial cardigan. And I hope to sort of leave you with that vision that our electrified world of the future, it's going to be better. It's not one of sacrifice and limits. It's one where we can have comfortable homes and a safe planet and healthy communities all at once. We don't have to give anything up.
That is hopeful. And I certainly look forward to next year to hear about the window option. I get really warm in my apartment in San Mateo, so that would be helpful.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Is that Joan has her hand up?
Yes. Is there any kind of a device that we could measure how much gas we are getting? I'm just curious. We do have a gas heater in our downstairs bedroom, and that room will never be connected to the house furnace or anything. So how would we know just how much gas we may be ingesting during the night while we're sleeping?
Oh, well, yeah. So there are not available any usefully accurate devices for measuring the harmful pollutions inside the home. We're mostly talking about benzene and NOx, nitrogen oxides. They're very difficult to measure. The equipment that scientists use to measure them in the homes costs many thousands of dollars and needs to be operated by experts. There are home air quality monitors that measure other things: CO2, PM 2.5, fine particulate matter, volatile organic compounds. Those are also harmful pollutants, but those mostly don't come from gas appliances. A PM 2.5 does, but most of the other ones don't. There is no way for you to measure your home's indoor air quality, at least the part of it that's impacted by gas appliances. Instead, we have to trust the science, right? We have to trust that the scientists who've done this work and shown that especially gas stoves are harmful to kids, harmful to families, and really impact the indoor air quality, that they know what they're doing and that they're doing it right. You also sort of asked about like how much gas are we using. I encourage you to check out your utility bills, and you'll be able to see just how much gas your whole home is consuming. It doesn't tell you anything about the air quality inside your home, but does give you a sense of how much gas you're using. And it's part of what we do when we do analysis of our clients' homes. We look at the gas and electricity bill and we figure out, okay, probably this much gas is going to the water heater and that much gas is going to the furnace. So you can get a sense of where the big consumers of gas and thus the big climate impacting machines are in your home.
Thank you.
Pam?
Is it possible, this is kind of a crazy question,
I love
but
it.
is it possible to see if PG&E would make a donation to help the planet?
Yeah, great question. You know, in effect, they sort of do. I worked at PG&E for 2.5 years, and I led the team that built a machine learning model that predicted where there is wildfire risk, where PG&E needs to do work on its network to reduce the risk of causing catastrophic and deadly wildfires. And in my role at PG&E, I had a lot of interactions with the California Public Utilities Commission, the government entity that regulates the behavior of PG&E and the other utilities in California. You know, utilities are required by regulators to help with this situation a little. They put some money into programs that provide rebates. Some of the rebates that you can receive when you electrify your home, that money is coming from PG&E and the other utilities. They put other money into programs that fund research and development. So some of the innovations around heat pumps and other systems that allow you to electrify at ever lower cost and higher performance, some of the development of that technology was funded by the utilities. But we got a problem here, which is, you know, PG&E, the G part stands for gas. They still sell a lot of fossil gas. They have a huge distribution network, pipes all over the place distributing that gas. That system leaks and releases methane, and it makes the shareholders of PG&E a lot of money. They're not going to let it go easy. This is a place where advocacy and political pressure, you working with your local and state representatives to say, hey, PG&E needs to get rid of the G as soon as possible, is really going to make a difference. PG&E is probably not going to do it voluntarily, right? They are a regulated business. They kind of have to do what the regulators tell them. Otherwise, what they're going to do is seek profits by selling as much gas as they can. And the pressure needs to come from the other direction. You and me. I mean, it is a public utility. That is the Public Utilities Commission. Their job is to cause utilities to behave in the interest of the public, which is us. And you can have a voice. You can get in touch with the PUC. You can express your opinion. You can comment on proceedings. Very few people do. So you can have amazing power just by raising your voice and speaking out. But it's hard. Pam, I applaud your interest here. I encourage you to push forward with it if you have the time and attention. It needs more folks pushing the utilities to electrify sooner and step away from their fossil gas past.
Isn't it possible that someday the gas won't be a safe investment for them to?
That already happened a decade or more ago. Unfortunately, they just kind of didn't notice it and they kept putting in gas infrastructure. It's going to be an interesting challenge here. There's actually a webinar coming up. I think it's coming up tomorrow, talking about how utilities are struggling with this question of what to do with all those gas pipes that they owned and paid for and now need to stop using long before the the natural end of life of all those pipes. It's a tricky thing because effectively we own them. Like these are public utilities and public assets of a sort. I just put the link in here in case you want to spend, 3 hours tomorrow learning about, or on Tuesday, learning about what these gas systems, how we're going to get rid of them. We need to get rid of them. We need to turn them off. It's not going to be easy. I don't have any answers here, except that you can make progress with your home and with helping your neighbors. And that's our powerful and important steps forward. One of the most important parts of turning off the gas system is demand going down, right? If we're all moving off of gas and we're buying less of it, then the signal becomes really strong that like, yep, this thing is a relic of the past and it needs to go.
Thank you.
I got a question. Is it economically feasible if you already have an electric cooktop to get an induction cooktop, put it over top? Would you save electricity that way?
Basically not, a little tiny bit. Induction cooktops are ever so slightly more efficient than resistance cooktops. The main difference is a resistance cooktop, it's got that coil that glows red hot, and if you put your hand on it, you are in big trouble. An induction cooktop has a glass surface. It does not get hot. If you put your hand on it, it feels warm, but it won't burn you. They use almost the same amount of electricity, and they have basically no difference in climate impact. So if you already have an electric resistance cooktop, good job, keep using it. That's great. You made a good step there. When you do go to replace it, get an induction. They're way better. They heat much faster. They're much more precise. They don't make your kitchen hot during the summer. They're way better, but there would be no need, if you care about the climate, there's no need to replace a resistance cooktop with an induction cooktop. Instead, take the money you would have spent or the effort you would have spent and put it somewhere else, right? Go do your water heater or your furnace, or in your case, Pam and Tony, I don't know, talk to your friends and neighbors and help encourage them, the ones that own their homes, to take the step forward with electrifying. I think I saw Kevin's partner there with her hand.
Maria.
Maria.
Okay, this is all very interesting. You are kind of preaching to the choir with Kevin and I.
Yeah.
But I am familiar with induction cookers, cooktops, because they are everywhere in Europe. Wherever, years and years ago, I thought, oh, I don't like this. I like my big, 6 burner, stove, blah, blah, blah. But what I do now is I have a small induction unit, which I put in the kitchen just next to my gas stove. And works very well because I can do all the boiling and other things that take a lot of time and gas. And I'm planning to get a bigger one and do exactly what you said. Just plant it on top of the existing.
Wonderful.
gas stove.
Yes.
I don't know how to do that. Maybe one of your contractors will have an idea. But a few weeks ago, I read a letter to the editor, I think it was in the Chronicle, from a man who was not at all convinced about switching to electricity. He was writing from Redwood City, and what he was saying is that they had a lot of power outages. And when the power goes out and you are all electric, you are in a very bad place. Right now, at least we can cook. How
Yes.
exactly solve?
Sure, great question. So let's correct a few occasional misperceptions folks have about power outages. The first is that certain home appliances, gas appliances, no longer work when the electricity goes out. We're mostly talking about your furnace. Forced air furnaces require electricity to turn the fan. So when the power goes out, your gas heat, if you have a central furnace, does not work. Pam and Tony, I see behind you, I think, a wall heater. Probably that will heat if the power goes out because its pilot light is not electronic. Of course, a clothes dryer, gas powered clothes, that's not going to work if your electricity goes out. Water heaters, generally they keep working, and stoves, generally they keep working when the electricity goes out. Electricity outages are a lot more rare than folks tend to remember. We have a bias in our heads that causes us to calculate how often the electricity is out. And we all perceive it to be out much more often than it actually is. As society electrifies, PG&E, my former colleagues at PG&E, they see exactly what's happening. They know that over the coming years, more and more people will use less gas and more electricity, and they will be continuing to invest in the electric grid and in the reliability of the electric grid. But look, sometimes the power is going to go out. That's going to happen for sure. And I think the core question perhaps is, what's more important to you? Being unable to cook for a few hours, or having that good feeling about the choices you're making with the appliances in your home being positive for your health and your community and your planet? It is a trade-off, but I think that many of you will probably make the what I think is the right choice. And then one more thing to mention here. It is possible to have a more reliable electricity supply by using a battery. Now, home batteries like Tesla Powerwalls are an option. They're super expensive, and at QuitCarbon, we never recommend them. They just don't make sense. But there's a new approach coming where you use your car, an electric car, as a home battery. Now, of course, that only works if you have a home that you plug your car into, right? That you have a driveway or a garage, and I know not everybody has that. But for homes that do have a place to park a car at home, using a car as a home battery is increasingly possible and is a much more economical choice. Cars have much more power in them than a Tesla battery. A typical electric car can power your home, your entire home, for 3 or 4 days. And they're much cheaper. You can get a car that's much larger than a Tesla battery for much less cost than if you just bought Tesla batteries or home batteries. So if you're really concerned, you can go that route, and it's a possibility. But I think my prior point about, in life, there are always trade-offs, and this is one where trading off the safety of your home and the economics and the comfort and the climate benefits, I personally feel is worth it.
You make me feel very good about having just purchased an all-electric car.
Woohoo! Congratulations,
Wow.
Kevin. That's
Yes.
exciting. Doesn't it feel good to you too when you step on the gas and it's just
Oh,
electrons moving you
What
forward?
money they want to save? Oh my
No,
God.
I just I totally love the electric car. It's so incredibly quiet and fast. And, so far it seems to be very efficient. Well,
Yes.
They are
this is-
expensive. Now, it can use it to power the entire house.
yeah,
That's another story.
That's another story. That's right. But you're one step closer. Yes, exactly. I mean, that's that good feeling you feel, Kevin, that feeling of making those steps forward on electrifying your life. And also that's that electrified things are better, right? You're feeling, Kevin, that electric car, wait a sec, it's better than my gas car was. You bet. Electrified homes are like that too. Now, when you electrify your water heater, I know you can't really tell, right? The water's still hot. But when you get a heat pump or when you get an induction stove, they really are different, and they really do make your home more comfortable and more performant in a way similar to how your electric car is better than that fossil fuel relic that it replaced.
well, I will be on the phone tomorrow morning to you guys at
Wonderful.
Carbon.
Thank you, Kevin.
Determined to get the economics of a heat pump into my life. I mean, that makes an incredible amount of sense.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions from anybody? And indeed, Kevin was mentioning calling us or reaching out to us on our website. At the bottom of our website, there's a phone number there. You can text message or call or email us anytime. And also there were those other organizations, Bay Ran and Switches On. If you don't want to work with us, that's fine. At least taking the step with somebody somehow is what we're talking about here today.
You bet. And I'll send a recap email so that the friends that didn't get to join today will have all the links, and you'll have a recap in your inbox as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. And there, I just put our website and my personal email address there in the chat. Always happy to hear from any of you fine folks. And I look forward perhaps to having an opportunity to share some of this inspiration, I hope, with some other groups and associations you might be part of. So please keep us in mind if we can do that. Mary Rose, thank you so much for organizing this. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful presentation. We really appreciate it.
All right, thank
Rounds
you.
of
Thank you
applause.
all. Thank you.
And
I'll hop off now,
No,
or
sure.
do you have a meeting to continue with?
we're pretty much done, but we really,
okay.
again, thank you very much. And anybody that does want to stay on, I'll be here for a few minutes, okay?
Great. Thank you all. Take care.
Bye,
Enjoy the
Cooper.
rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Hello. Yeah.
Hi.
Stop the recording. And yes.
I did wonder